Are you familiar with Jung's concept of the animus or the anima?
Is that the masculine and feminine stuff?
He says that
Like,
I was looking into it today about how part of our conscious is animus and animus, so it's kind of similar to the our unconscious. It's kind of similar to the two forces of in the way of the superior man with masculine and feminine energy, and he sort of says
mm,
things about so Jung sort of says things about how some people who are uncontrolled, who can't control their emotions, have a overruling anima. I can't remember which way around they are. Or and the female one is overwhelming, whereas the sort of conscientious force is sort of being watered down and not able to express itself.
yeah, it's interesting. I think from my understanding, it's the in our unconscious we have characteristics or extreme characteristics that are stereotypical of the opposite gender, essentially. So if a female has an aggressive outburst that's very uncharacteristic of their normal conscious character, how their ego usually manifests itself, then you'd say they're animus possessed. Probably is animus the male verb? I think it is an animus female. I'm not 100% sure, but like it's yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think you can kind of tell, and that maybe you want to keep these energies in balance. It's still quite like a abstract thing that you can't really prove. So it's difficult, and I think that's why people have a problem with Young is like it's a lot of abstract theory.
Well, the difficulty, yeah, is that's a challenging part of it. It's not objective, but I think the the standard scientific method perspective neglects the utility in when you read and hear about something, it resonates with you. And that's like a sort of woo woo unscientific term. It resonates with you. What does that mean? But like you hear it and it relates to something you've experienced in life. And that's how I feel when I read a lot of depth psychology or psychoanalysts writings. It's not as scientific as biology, chemistry, and physics. It's not going to be. It doesn't deal with the physical world. It deals with the metaphysical world, the world of experience.
The unspeakable
But
world.
it yeah, exactly. The world that language doesn't quite do justice to. And it's that world I want to inhabit, Jacob. That's the world I want to live my life in.
I wonder kind of the extent that the experience, the the unspeakable world is experienced. There's
Mm.
got to be layers to it, and
Well, I'll tell you this, right? Ever since we spoke the other day, I can't stop thinking about the idea that what you really want is just depth in the present moment. That's all you want. That's all you want. And it came from Sunday when I had that difficult, suboptimal performance. Didn't enjoy the basketball game. 4 hour round trip to the venue and back. Disappointing with how hard I train and that I visualized how I wanted the game to go. All this kind of stuff. And then I come home and we like just sat up for an hour and had a drink and talked about some stuff. And I was just sat there sipping on a glass of ginger wine, looking around myself. And I was happier than I'd been the whole day involved in the game just because that present moment had depth to it. Like I actually felt like I was there and I was just in peace in this moment.
yeah, live. I guess creates a reality where those things happen as often as possible. I think, 'cause, 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 ' it's almost like there's a lot of placebos in life where you think you're experiencing something, but you're not. And I'll try and articulate maybe what I mean by that. I feel like because I feel like we're at a stage now where every single part of our life is has an expectation to it because social media doesn't just show the perfect version of one part. It shows the perfect versions of how I should be eating, what my lady should act like. Every single part of life is idealized because someone has set it up and set up a camera about it and needs to meet certain requirements for that video to go well. And so you compare that to real life, and you go and experience something, and it doesn't meet your expectation, and the next time you experience something different, it doesn't meet your expectation, and this is all building up unconsciously, and so then it's
Mm.
like, well, how can I be happy?
Maybe expectations take away the depth in the present moment because you're trying to force some kind of cookie cutter idea of how you want this moment, this day to go. And if reality doesn't fit into your cookie cutter mold, then you feel disappointed and frustrated with that. That's what anxiety is. Anxiety is when the future doesn't seem like it's going how you want it to go. And maybe a better way to do things is not taint our experience with much expectation at all. It's a tough sort of tough circle that I'm trying to square these days of like how do you have enough expectation that you like do shit in the world and be of value and improve and get good at stuff and find meaning in that, but you don't have so much expectation that every so often you can just dip into this deep presence where you don't mind where the moment takes you, you're just here.
Because the moments that I have looked at that have provided the most depth weren't comprehensible. You didn't think that they would happen in the way that they did. There was something maybe new about that experience, uh, something thrilling, or or just a lot of a particular feeling. And I think one way to create a lot of depth in a moment is to put effort in for yourself, put in the effort to shape it in a way that you want it. Because,
What do you mean by that?
like, with like, it's hard to show up the best way that you can to a potential experience, and it's
Mm,
something that I want to improve on.
mm. This sounds off topic, but it's funny, and I'm going to say it. There's a Disney film from the 1970s called The Aristocats. Have you heard of it or seen it?
I can recognize, like, I can see the image of the cover in my head.
Yeah, yeah. And there's this character in that called Thomas O'Malley, and he's like a street cat, and he is the best representation that I've seen in some fictional narrative of like a guy with unlimited aura. Like you want to be around Thomas O'Malley. He is just a baller in life, and he's not hurting anyone. He's being friendly. He bends the rules a little bit. He brings relentless charisma, and he just brings joy to the people around him. And his song from that movie, every time I listen to it, it's just a reminder to bring energy and enthusiasm to life that then strengthens the quality of the present moment. I'm going to send you that song because you can just hear how much like he is the guy and he knows it as well. That's what makes it better is he knows he's the guy.
Is there any other correlations or any other? lessons you've learned from these Disney movies?
It's so cringe, isn't it? That like a 20-year-old man is like really into like old Disney films. The modern shit I don't care about. Like 1970s is like that's late on considering the ones that I like. The ones from the 50s and 60s are made like about how much I love the Lady and the Tramp story and all like the soundtrack from that film. Just something it's something about that era, man. I mean, I love music from that era. You know this too. Music from the 40s, 50s, 60s. That's what I listen to most of the time when I'm relaxing and not like training or working. That's the music I listen to if I want to just listen to songs. I feel like I actually saw a comment on a YouTube video of one of these like crooner music compilation playlist videos, right? And someone had commented, the reason I love this music is because it feels like nostalgia from a time I never lived in, or something along those lines. And that's how it feels. It's like maybe it was post-war time, post World War II, and the end of that crisis, and people that had been at service coming home to their families, and love was real, and gratitude was there for the fact that the war had ended and life was more calm. And I don't know, music was beautiful. It was real. It was deep. It had depth to it. And I feel the same thing in those films. Like you watch any Disney film from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Not only is the music something that I find so beautiful, even as a 20-year-old man, but there's so many amazing moral messages that are subtle that I only noticed them now. I had no idea about them if I watched these films when I was a kid because I'm just caring about the narrative and the plot lines and the funny moments and everything. But as a man watching these, I pick up on the moral messages from characters, and you know instantly who's a good guy and who's a bad guy, and they don't even have to say it. It's from the way that they interact with people, from their energy, from their aura in the film. And yeah, it's just I don't know,
Tell
man.
the listeners why you like the archetypes of the Lady and the Tramp so much.
I mean, this I'm just such a like cringy fanboy in it, but I don't care because it's real. It's how I feel, right? The male dog character from Lady and the Tramp, he is the guy. Like this guy sleeps like by a railway track, so he's a stray dog, right? But that means he's free. He's not constrained by the society around him. He's not wearing some collar from some family that he needs to go back to. The world is his playground. And he wakes up in the morning and he goes to a restaurant and he knows these restaurant owners and they give him an old bone from the night before that then he then has for breakfast. Do you know what I mean? And he struts about, and there's one moment where he just saves a couple of his mates from like the dog police that take people to the kennels when they're like don't have a collar on and shit. Like he's doing good things in society, but he's also funny. He's got relentless charisma, no social anxiety, no insecurity. He knows he's the man. He struts around with his chest out, smiling at people, having a little joke. And then when he meets Lady, right, the female dog that their love story is what the whole narrative is about, it's just the way he interacts with her. It's just so seamless and smooth. And he's just some tramp dog, but he's just flirting with this like rich upper class like female dog, and he gets her heart like it's nothing. And it's like it's so hard to describe, but I watch that and I go, that is what men should be. And somehow some bloke in Disney has managed to draw and script out some fictionalized dog that represents what a young male should be. He's brave, he's he's kind, he's just. No, he's not just kind in a kind of flimsy, naive sense. Like he does good things, but they're sometimes naughty. He'll bite some human being's leg to distract them from the dogs that they're trying to trap to take to the kennels to save his friends. And he's also dangerous because there's one moment where the female dog is being attacked by like the evil dogs that are like a bit, I don't know what's the word, aggressive, ferocious, whatever. He then fights off like three of them. He gets battered, but he does it to save like the damsel in distress. So he's courageous, he's dangerous, he's charismatic. But when he's your friend, you want to be around him. He lifts the energy of the room. And I sound so mental saying this, but that's what you should be as a human being.
Yeah, it kind of incorporates the the classic slay the dragon and get the princess. Um,
Yeah.
but in quite an interesting form. So, wait, to be clear, like, how do you think that we can apply that to our lives?
It comes back to this idea of courage. It's like you have two options in a situation, and it's approach or avoid. That's fundamentally your choice. Either you expand yourself and you take on the situation voluntarily, or you hide away and you recede into yourself and you get defeated by the challenge that's in front of you. Now that could be some pursuit you're taking on,
I'm getting,
right? Going all in on
I'm
it
getting a call
and trying.
from Kai.
Oh, interesting. Pick it up.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, guys. I'm so sorry. I thought you meant 8 p.m. UK time, which was 9 p.m. Belgian time.
Oh, okay.
You'd made... thank you. Sorry. Stupid of me. I can do now.
Yeah?
Yeah? Does that work? Really sorry. I don't have
No,
notifications on my
but that's
Instagram.
fine. That's
All
fine.
right, cool. I will dial in on my computer now.
All right. See you soon.
Sorry about
Look.
that.
No worries.
Sound.
He's going to join now.
Well, ideal. Well, let's say you can have me till 8:30, and then I want to go. So we'll get 15 minutes with him.
Sure. I'll keep going if you need to go as well.
I'll carry on my spiel. Yeah, this idea of like courage. Actually, I'm reading a book at the moment called "The Courage to Be Disliked." I've started reading it. Right, you might have heard of it. And it's actually an adaptation of Adlerian psychology. And Adler was like the third figurehead of psychoanalysis, but just behind Freud and Jung. He's kind of like less renowned, but his work is still powerful. And it talks about this idea of like the courage. Courage is an essential tool to have in your life to be happy, because actually taking life with like two hands and trying to apply yourself to your experience and find meaning in it and do what is right and tell the truth and be good to your community and the people you love, all of that takes courage. So I got a bit obviously cut off there because the guest came in and rang, but yeah, just have a level of like back yourself in the world. You know, I'm saying all this. It makes it sound like I've got it figured out. I certainly don't. When I talk about things like this on the podcast, it's a great reminder to myself to be like, Joel, like take on life, like bite into it.